The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
You've always got time for short time.
Hey, it's Warren Lopez.
David Taylor.
Brent Metcalf. Johnny Hendricks. Tony Ramos. Bubba J.
Mike Golick.
Matthew Modine. The one and only Chael Sonnen. And you are listening to the one and only Short Time Wrestling Podcast by the often imitated and never duplicated Jason Bryant.
All right, folks, as promised, part two of the Rollie Peterkin interview. And this one, this part, I'm not really going to ruin it for you, but I'm just going to tell you, we go down rabbit holes talking about hitchhiking around Europe, life at a boarding school, Jeff Buxton stories. We're talking about Adam Frey and Jared Platt, Gatorade in a can. I mean, this is Rollie Peterkin. This is why I had to just separate this into two segments. Now, before we even get to Rollie, I'm going to throw my PSA out here before we get to the meat of the interview here on the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. Thanks for listening, by the way. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for subscribing. Rate and review and buy the guide, folks. And I need to just start calling this thing the guide. The 2017 Matt Talk Online Division I Championship Preview Fan Guide on sale now. $19.99 retail, digitally delivered March 14th. Every result you can think of and fathom and want for St. Louis, the Division I championships will be at your disposal. You can save $5. You're not going to pay $19.99 for this because it's worth it, but you're going to pay about $5 off by using the promo code, the offer code podcast when you go to matttalkonline.com/fanguide17. Enter offer code podcast. Save $5, beat all your friends at fantasy wrestling. I don't have to, you know what? I can tell you how good this thing is. And the last two episodes, I've told you about how good Adam Amin, who called it for ESPN the last couple of years, thought it was. I'm going to save that now because I want to get to Rollie Peterkin and finish up this awesome series, this awesome two-part series, this awesome interview I had with the man from Massachusetts. He's not Boston. I don't know. I can't even do bad Boston accents, but promo code podcast, matttalkonline.com/fanguide17. Be prepared for St. Louis. Hashtag NCAA Wrestling. Hashtag D1 Wrestling. Bring it on Short Time now. Bring it on Rollie Peterkin. Now that we've finished the whole the book side of Rollie's story, Rollie, you carry a number of stories, and you've done this with your blog, and this is the part of the show I just want a couple stories. Let's just start with like weird stories from the road. These are things like travel blogs. I was writing a blog from Rio about, photobombing Ryan Seacrest, which, believe it or not, got tons of traffic. But let's just start with just a couple stories that you've developed since you left Peru. I keep wanting to say Purdue. It's the wrestling in me. Since Madrid, England, I just want a couple of these gems that you've just from a life on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 3 months this summer traveling, and I met like so many incredible people. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I think it was really cool. I went hitchhiking this summer, which is a thing that people used to do, but I'm not sure why. It just like kind of fell off because it's really fun to do.
Abductions typically and rest stops usually would lead Americans to stop doing that. And then America's Most Wanted, John Walsh scared the crap out of everybody for that show.
I was listening to a podcast, I think Freakonomics podcast. They talked about why they don't do it anymore. And it was like there was like one big case and then everyone stopped. But anyway, yeah, I was I found myself in Denmark this past summer, and I have a good friend that lives there, and he's hitchhiked like all over Europe, all over Eastern Europe, everywhere. Like, and he was kind of like in my ear, like, just try it. I was like, okay, cool. So I, made the sign and stood outside on the exit ramp to the highway in Aarhus, Denmark, and got a ride from an older man to a McDonald's, and I was trying to go to Hamburg, Germany, and I got a ride from a Romanian trucker.
So hold on, stop. I got to stop you right there. I'm guessing your sign didn't say Hamburg, and he took you to a McDonald's.
Well, the thing about
it's just too perfect.
The thing about hitchhiking is that like rarely do you get a ride the full way. So you have to. People will take you parts of the way, and then they'll leave you at like a gas station along the highway. It was actually a gas station that had a McDonald's there.
Well, I'm just thinking, I mean, if your sign said hamburger, you'd have been fine.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's a good joke. That's fine.
I mean, that's the first thing that jumps into my mind. Hamburg, and he took me to McDonald's. Well, the ER fell off your sign.
Yeah. That's probably what he was thinking, actually.
Okay, so you're on your way to Hamburg.
So yeah, I got a ride from. Then the next one, I had to wait like an hour or two. A Romanian trucker picked me up. And it was fun. His English was like really bad, but he was trying to tell me all these stories and like back in Romania, and it was just really fun. We were chatting. I bought him a coffee and we stopped, and he told me stories. I think he had a girlfriend in Romania, and he was trying to look for a job in a factory back there, and he hated his job. But we were listening to music. It was just kind of like, when will I ever have an experience like this again? And yeah, he took me to Hamburg, and then from Hamburg, I hitchhiked to Amsterdam. It took me, I think, 6 different rides to get to Amsterdam. It took me like 12 hours. And yeah, I found that everyone that I met on the road was like super nice, super friendly. No serial killers in there, so I survived. And I think I'm going to do it again this summer. It was really fun time.
Yeah, again, pardon the movie puns and references, but I'm thinking of Euro Trip with the guy that picks him up. It's like, Bratislava, yeah, Berlin. It's like, I want to go.
I've been to Bratislava, actually. I was there. I'll start another story here.
Go for it, man. That's what I want to hear now. I just want
okay. So tangents. I was going to, the thing that's great about Europe is you can fly everywhere for really cheap. Like I just flew round trip to Dublin over Christmas break for 48 euros, which is like $48 basically. So anyway, I was looking for a bunch of my friends were going to Budapest, Hungary, and I waited too long to book it, and the flight got expensive. And so I was like looking around, and kind of was getting on my way. So I flew into Bratislava and spent the day there, and then took a train down to Budapest and met all my friends there. And we had an Airbnb with like 10 people, but I didn't want to, so I went and got a hostel on my own, and I met an Australian guy and and his German girlfriend at the bar, and they were like, they used to live in Vietnam, so they invited me over the following day for a dinner at their house because they lived in Budapest, and they invited me over for dinner to celebrate the Chinese New Year. So it's all sorts of mix of cultures, and there were a bunch of German people there, and he was from Australia, so he had Vegemite at his apartment. I tried it for the first time, and I watched this German guy try it for the first time, and he like contorted his face in disgust, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Very thin on crackers, very thin. That's all you need Vegemite. You don't want to cake small. That on anything.
And that night, we went out to a bar to watch the American Super Bowl, and I was like explaining it to these German people and Australian people, the rules of football, and it was just like one of those moments where I'm like, how did I get here to Budapest with these people watching the Super Bowl? So that was an interesting experience too.
Yeah, Budapest is one of my favorite cities. We were there for the 2013 World Championships, and what I love about some of these, I mean, Moscow's like 800 and something years old as a city. Budapest is ancient in terms of, we think about the age of this country.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is one of the oldest cities in this country, yet it's got nothing on Budapest, and the cobblestone streets, just the old architecture. I mean,
of course,
things are hundreds of years old. Castles. I mean, I want to know, what's the coolest castle you've seen in your travels through Europe?
In my travels, castle. Edinburgh's got a really good castle. Edinburgh Castle is really nice. I just went to Blarney Castle in Ireland recently. That was a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, it was fine. It's a castle, but we kissed the Blarney Stone. It was kind of like a little anticlimactic. It was the big touristy gimmick there. It's kiss the Blarney Stone, and
get herpes while you're at it,
Yeah, right. Like, how many people has that stone kissed before? Hundreds of thousands.
That whore of a castle. No.
Slutty Stone.
Oh wow! I think you've just created a new name. But now, all these trips around Europe, and you say it's really cheap because I'm going to be going to Europe 5 times this coming year, and glorious places like I'll be going to Dortmund, Germany. A small town in Serbia for the for the Europeans, and then we've got Athens, Paris, and Tampere, Finland. So for all the various world championships. So for those who go overseas, how often, wrestling is kind of a common language in some of these countries. When you're traveling through Europe, how often does wrestling come up and people talk about maybe the iconic heroes? Like if you're going through Germany and I say Mike Bowman, I expect people to know who he is.
Let's see. So I don't meet a lot of wrestlers here in Western Germany, but when I meet people from, Western Europe rather, but when you meet people from Eastern Europe, definitely they know wrestlers. And you know what to me is my favorite is whenever I meet anyone from Iran, and I met when you travel, I met a bunch of people from Iran, and I just say wrestling, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, wrestling, I know wrestling, and just the average person just knows. Then they talk about how. Have you ever been to Iran to a wrestling match?
It is on my list, and you know what? That's one I'm going to probably have to
want to go.
Argue with my wife about going, because I think that's on the list of places she doesn't want me to go, but it's on my list of places to go. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, I've never been to Iran
amazing yet. Things. They say high school wrestling matches there have tens of thousands of people, and they're on TV. And everyone I've ever met from there is really enthusiastic about it. And you know what? They're all the nicest people in the world too. And they always say oh, well, our governments don't like each other, but we love America. And so yeah, I would really like to visit there.
Yeah, I think the only exception to that is the whole Yazdani the greatest, and every country has internet trolls. So any comment section involving Iranian wrestling is going to get pretty nasty right off the bat. But
of course,
but that's of course. I mean, we remember the Matt.com in its glorious heyday of where it earned the nickname the cesspool. This is before I even had to manage it. So we're familiar with don't read the comments here in this country now. The Canary Islands, we've discussed that a little bit. Now, Spain, Madrid, you talked about the Olympic Training Center there a bit. What are some things that you learned about wrestling in Spain that kind of opened your eyes? They do things, I mean, you're well-versed in different cultures, but when you're wrestling in a different country and you grew up wrestling a certain way, and you're like, what did you learn about it training in Spain?
I trained a lot, but it was just for fun. I wasn't training really for competitions. I think that what's interesting is that in the United States, we do a lot more technique. Here, they're just kind of get in, they do conditioning, and then go live. I think that's one of the best parts about the United States. What makes us great at wrestling is the technique. We have such great technicians. And, if you go to the Olympic Training Center, you have guys in there, these, Olympic champions and everything come in just for a day, and they're like, here, let me show you my leg lace or something. And I think that they look at the United States and these wrestlers, and they would come up to me and be like, do you know blah blah blah? And I was like, yeah, I've met him before. No way. And I'd tell them that I wrestled with Kendall or Zeke or something like that. Was my college coach for a little bit. And I mean they were the overall level is not, comparable to the United States. But they're really, they have the facilities, and they're enthusiastic to training, and they go to tournaments all over Europe, and it's pretty cool. They can just go fly to Paris or to Germany for the weekend and go wrestle pretty easily.
All right. I want to go back old school now. I want to go back to Fargo and talk about some of your career matches there. Let's just start with your first title, cadet, 98 pounds in 2003. Yeah. I'm going to read off some of the names in this bracket, folks.
It was a crazy bracket.
It was basically a who's who before anybody grew. Oh wow, that's a pun. Okay, so you win it. Jimmy Kennedy is second. Aaron Hart, who people might not remember from Ohio. Yeah, I mean, this guy was a monster. He was third. Jimmy Conroy out of Jersey was tough. Yep. He was fourth.
I beat him in the semis. I think that was a close match. It was the only close match I had.
Zach Sanders was fifth.
Oh yeah.
Brian Spangler from Illinois sixth. Walker Faison, who I know from Virginia, was seventh. And Kelly Kubik from Washington was eighth. So I think 6 of those 8, I think, actually wrestled at the NCAA championships at one point or another. But what do you remember about that first title in Fargo? With that, and knowing now that, wow, that weight was a bunch of hammers.
Yeah, well, I had the year before, I think I went 2-2 at Fargo, and I had never really done well at a national tournament before. I had gone to some like youth nationals. I'd never placed or anything. And I've been training with Kendall for like all summer, like really hard, and I just was confident. I just went out there and just I was just like, no one's gonna beat me, and I went through and I just steamrolled everyone. I think I teched everyone except for Jimmy Conroy and Jimmy Kennedy. And it was just crazy. I remember being in the finals, like, what is happening right now? Where am I? And it's like this, the Fargo. I love Fargo. I always tell people whenever I meet someone from North Dakota, I'm like, Fargo is one of my favorite cities ever. And they're like, what? The intensity of that tournament is unmatched. And it was such a cool feeling when I won that. I really, it was like a high that is amazing. And then, came back the next year and won it the next year at Junior 105.
Yeah,
and there was also a lot of guys in that. I mean, every weight in Fargo has tough guys in it. But yeah, that was also memorable.
All right, Junior 105. That was what I was going to get at, and this is one thing that I find rather interesting is the guy you wrestled in the finals that year, guy named Gabe Burak from Colorado.
Yep.
Would later be on the same team with you in college at a vastly different weight class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he grew a lot.
Yeah, those Burak boys do tend to grow quite a bit.
Yeah, of course.
I'm curious on what that dynamic is like in a wrestling room when you end up being in the same room with somebody that you wrestled during high school, and especially a situation like that. Junior freestyle finals is a big deal. That's something people will, they hang their careers on in a lot of cases. And here you are, years later, and it's like, oh well, yeah, I wrestled him in Fargo finals, and yeah, didn't he wrestle 165? So I mean, how do those conversations go in the room? Whether it be Gabe Burak or anybody that you'd cross paths with in your career, and now they're on
Brian
your team.
Spangler's name before, and he was on the team too. I think it's kind of like I was saying about before with Scotty Sentes, is that there's a mutual respect in wrestling, and I think there are guys that don't have that mutual respect, but I think we all try to have that, and it's also distant past, but I've been on the teams with guys that have beaten me, and there's always a competitive thing, but they're never, we'd kind of joke about it sometimes, and I just think that it's just competitive, fun time to I don't know. We didn't talk about it a ton though.
It's also a situation where you were at Blair in some of those later years, and you're still representing Massachusetts. How important was it for you to represent your home state in those things, even though some of the Blair guys will say, oh, yeah, I'll represent New Jersey?
It was really important to me. I'm always really loyal to Massachusetts, and so many of those guys supported me over the years. So many, you think about wrestling growing up. I mean, I think it's everywhere, but being a youth wrestler and going to all these open mats and all these clubs, and you have these coaches there that, they're not making money off of this or anything like that. They're there because they love it. They love helping people. And they're, so many people have done so much for me that, I really am super loyal to Massachusetts. And, I wish if I was back there, I'd obviously be coaching a club or something like that, helping out. And paying it forward. But I really, really always have a real soft spot for the place that gave me the start like that.
Who's your favorite wrestler from Massachusetts besides yourself?
Favorite wrestler from Massachusetts? I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know. Well, I'll say I always trained growing up with, we were really close growing up. Sean Bilodeau, who wound up wrestling at Lehigh.
AKA Spike.
AKA Spike. Yes.
His dad emailed me as soon as he got into college, and I called him Spike on something. It might have been a live text coverage. He goes, we're trying to get away from the Spike thing. He's now in college. That's
funny. Yeah. So he and he won Fargo too, actually. And I was in his corner when he did, because I was in college at the time, and I went back to be a Fargo coach, and he won, and he destroyed everyone.
Three-quarter Nelsons, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think he beat Andrew Howe too. Don't quote me on that, but I think someone who's really good. But but yeah, so I don't know. We were always close growing up, and he was a really good workout partner for me. And his dad, who wrestled at Springfield College, was a coach. And it's good, it's can be difficult to find guys in Massachusetts who have really wrestled at that high of a level. So yeah, his dad was a big influence on me.
The answer to the question: Bilodeau won it. Conrad Poles of Illinois was second. Andrew Howe was third.
And he beat Howe in the semis, I think.
No, it would have been the Pools back then, but yeah, I think they were on the same side.
Yeah.
Jed Moore 4, Alex Mead 5, Kevin LaValle 6, Eric Cubberly 7.
What a weight class.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I love about I've got this digital almanac with Fargo stuff, and like when I talk to guys like you, I just think about the times. I mean, because I've been to every Fargo since 1999. I've seen, this will be my 19th year.
I wish I could do that.
I'm drinking out of a turf mug right now, in case you're wondering. But then again, thing is, I'm trying to think. Have you ever been to you've been to the turf, right?
What's that?
It's the really crappy dive bar in Fargo.
I'm sure I have.
Yeah, everybody's been to the turf. Well, the one that caught on fire this summer.
When I went back as a coach, I think I coached there for like 2 years. So yeah, I've probably been there.
Yeah, it got caught on fire the day of the cadet finals last year. So the owner's trying to rebuild. So anyway, I'm drinking out of a turf mug right now as we talk Fargo. But I think about all these bar bets. They're not necessarily a bar bet, but the discussions like you have with your friends, like, dude, remember that time? I could spend hours having those type of conversations. Like, I remember, like, who is this Peterkin kid from Massachusetts? Oh, it's like it's 98 pounds, and then all of a sudden, it's 105. All of a sudden, it's like, it's 133. Wait a minute, this is college. I mean, the progression, and we talk about, representing Massachusetts. What are some things that if money was no object and you could go back to your home state and do something for wrestling, whether it be start a college team, start a club, what could you do to maybe, let's just talk college wrestling here, to elevate the level of college-ready wrestlers from Massachusetts, whether it be donating to Jay's program at Harvard or bringing back BU? What were some things that you would like to do if money was no object?
Well, obviously bringing back BU wrestling would be a huge one. That was, it was really unfortunate. That was, I know a lot of people went to the BU wrestling camp growing up too. I went there a few years, and Carl's great guy, great coach, and everything. So yeah, bring back BU. That was a real devastating loss. And, I think me personally, maybe I would start a club, be able to teach the next generation. Like I said, I would like to pay it forward because the people that have helped me so much. And also just, there's not many Division I wrestlers coming from there who have, come back and teach those guys. So, I think I could have a pretty big impact if I was able to do that.
Keeping things, I'm drawing the stories out of Rollie Peterkin here on the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. And in your high school years, let's not talk about Fargo. Let's talk about folk style. And in that move to Blair, it gave you the opportunity to wrestle a lot better guys than you were seeing. And you see some decent guys at the New England Championships, but Blair's national schedule. Plus, you guys went to school on Saturdays, which is one thing I think a lot of people don't know about Blair Academy is, it's 6 days a week. But what do you remember about your first national tournament wearing a Blair singlet?
Well, you have a certain confidence wearing that Blair singlet. I mean, there's something about Buxton sitting in that corner, and that you've trained with the top guys in the country. Like, the Blair wrestling room is crazy. Like for a high school program, you have guys that come in there, guys that are like world caliber guys just coming in to visit, not working, but national caliber guys coming in to visit, and like they'll wrestle for a little bit and then just like you'll just break them because like no one, after a few months there, you just have this confidence of wrestling the very best guys every day. Like, and I don't think a lot of high schools have that. I mean, there are definitely a lot of high schools that do have it, but like it's not very common to have such tough guys like that. And just having that Blair singlet on, and you just walk out there, and that the other guy's afraid of you, just wearing that Blair singlet. So that's a cool feeling. And I went there and was able to get like such top level competition. We went to the Beast, the Ironman, national preps, and it was an interesting experience. That first year, I was cutting to 112, And, I'd just gone through like a big, I don't know, maybe not growth spurt, but I'd gained like 15, 20 pounds from the year before. And I was like cutting down from like 130. And it was a really, really tough year, for me, like a new school, difficult academics, and cutting all that weight during the season was really, and then, just the grind of the wrestling room. So that was a really tough year for me. I was a little burned out, actually, I would say, maybe towards the end of it. And it really, the weight cut mostly just really wore me out that year.
All right, I'm a public school kid, and a lot of people, when they look at the national rankings, they'll see public versus private, and there's that age old debate about certain private schools versus public schools. There should be this and that. Well, St. Edward, for example, is a private school in Lakewood, Ohio, but it's not like Blair Academy, which is a boarding school. Explain the boarding school dynamic to somebody that, like me, who grew up as a state school, public school type of kid.
Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's a bunch of like 14 to 19-year-olds really like living in dorms, and there's strict rules. It's kind of like lights out every night at 11, I think, and there's a dress code. You had to wear khakis and a collared shirt on campus. And, no boys in the girls' dorm and no girls in the boys' dorm, et cetera. And yeah, it was, you get a bunch of like really mature kids and joking around, playing pranks, prank phone calls, that kind of stuff. It was, it's fun. And then also what was cool is that, I don't think a lot of places wrestlers get the credit that they deserve. In every high school, you're there cutting weight in the sauna and everything like that. And then the girls are dating the quarterback of the team that's 0-10 on the football team, and so it was cool at Blair to be recognized. Like the school definitely appreciates the wrestlers there, and people follow the tournament. You come into class and they say, "Oh, I heard what happened at the Ironman" or something, and that was a really unique experience. I don't think many people get to experience that, because in my hometown, I remember my sophomore year, I got second at the New Englands, and I got pinned in the finals. And like there was like this big, my hometown newspaper ran this big story, like women's soccer team gets like places at the divisional state tournament thing. And the bottom right corner, there's a little box, and it was like the title was this. I remember my dad actually like wrote to the newspaper because he was angry about it. It said Rollie Peterkin finally gets pinned. And it was a little tiny box in the corner, and it was like, we don't even care. Like made it to the New England finals. And so yeah, there's always that. I think a lot of wrestlers have that kind of like that, I don't know, inferiority complex. It's like, look at me, my sport is so tough, and no one appreciates it.
Now, I'm curious about, and this is going to appreciate it, because we've seen Wyoming Seminary come on and become a real rival to Blair Academy in the national preps, whereas prior it would be, Bishop Lynch gave chase for a bit in your era. But when we look at having a dual meet, I mean, like what are home duels like? I mean, how often does Blair have big events? I mean, do they draw from the local community, or is how is Blair Academy kind of sit in that part of New Jersey in the Blairstown area? I mean, what's the community like around Blair Academy?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, sometimes I remember you'd be wearing like a T-shirt that's a Blair Wrestling, and people would like kind of say, "Oh, you wrestle at Blair," like in the local area. I don't think it's like probably like some certain parts of Pennsylvania and obviously Iowa and stuff like that, but it definitely gets it definitely draws big crowds, and especially for the big dual meets, if it's like St. Ed's or whatever. I think when we wrestled against, I don't know if it's St. Ed's, or we did like a big quad meet, and it was at like East Stroudsburg. That was cool, and that obviously drew like a big crowd there, Lehigh Valley, all that stuff. But yeah, it's just intense, just taking part in these big matches where like, there's like when you wrestle in a dual meet, there's a national title on the line. Like that was a intense thing to go through in high school.
How hard is it? Pressure. How hard is it to be, to realize the fact that people always like to root against the dominant force, and people use the term when they talk about Iowa in their heyday that they were the New York Yankees of wrestling, and Blair Academy from a high school standpoint can kind of fit that bill. when you come into a program like Blair, yes, you've got the confidence, but all of a sudden you become from maybe being, hey, that likable upstart from Massachusetts to be like, let's beat those Blair guys. They cheat, they recruit, they do. I mean, you went from being possibly a fan favorite to on probably one of the most hated teams in America.
Yeah, I don't know. That didn't really bother me. I didn't really pay attention to that stuff. Yeah, I just, it's like, oh, we're just winning, so who cares, kind of. Later on in college, then when I was like on teammates with a lot of the guys, and they would say, oh, Blair recruits. I'd be like, no, I wasn't recruited. I just wanted to go there because best guys. Like, and I don't know. I've never been someone that takes those kind of things too personally. So just kind of let it slide. People can think whatever they want. It doesn't really bother me.
I'm going to continue this Blair rabbit hole here because I don't think this is something that's been talked about enough on the national scale. As everybody assumes things, but you see that we made the point that it's a boarding school, and I think that's lost on a lot of people, even though that they don't really put two and two together. Like, yes, Abe Ayala was from Florida, Vlobeck was from California. I mean, you got guys.
I don't think a lot of people realize that it's co-ed school and it's like a real school too. I think a lot of people think it's just like some weird wrestling school in New Jersey. But it's
have you seen these sports academies popping up? What's that number one high school football team? It's like IMG Sports Academy in Florida, and like the entire
there's basketball schools and everything like that. I think people think that it's like that, but it's not. It's like a top rated prep school like in the country. It's a really serious academic institution as well.
Well, and on that vein too, people when they talk about basketball, I'm from Virginia, as most people know, at Oak Hill Academy. People talk about, basketball, Oak Hill. I'm like, dude, Oak Hill is in the middle of freaking nowhere. For a reason. It's a basketball factory and kind of an alternative boarding school because there's nothing near Oak Hill, which means there's nothing for the kids to get in trouble to. So I'm sure there's probably not the case with Blair because, of course, probably kids send their parents send their kids. Okay, he can't get any trouble at Blair. But when you compare where I grew up, where it's like, Mouth of Wilson, Virginia. Mouth of Wilson is nowhere on the freaking map. It's way out there. There's no easy way to get to where Oak Hill is. At least with Blair, okay, it's in northwestern New Jersey. It's not that hard to find. But the type of dynamic of people that wish to go to the powerhouse prep schools. I mean, I'm guessing I'm saying here's the question is. It seems really hard to recruit to a place that's going to end up costing you $40,000-$50,000 a year in tuition.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's certain restrictions. I think they give scholarships and, look at people's financial situations and yeah, I mean, they have a big endowment deal, a lot of fundraising. I always donate money to Blair every year. Now I just donate like $10 because I don't make much, but I think I used to give them a little bit more.
Well, when you're in Wall Street, it's based like the financial aid, need based, right?
Yeah.
Well, I need to give money. This is all I can afford based on my income.
Exactly. But I mean, because that place gave so much to me. I think it really helped me mature as a person. So I really support. Oh, and I went back and spoke actually there. They have a speaker series called Skeptics, and this summer, I went back there for like just a few days. Like I flew back. They flew me back from Spain, and I gave a talk about my book and everything. And it was really cool. It was really cool seeing the campus. It's changed a lot, and I met with the wrestling team and everything, and spoke with them a little bit. And yeah, it was a surreal experience. I hadn't been back there in like many years, but it was exciting.
All right, now you got one shot on this one. This is one that I what is your favorite Jeff Buxton story?
Oh my God, let me think about this.
I mean, my joke is, what has 9 fingers and wins national championships? Jeff Buxton.
Buxton.
Too soon? No.
No.
In case you don't know, Coach Buxton cut his finger off at training camp before Fargo one year, so hence the 9 fingers thing. He's cool with that joke, by the way. So is Kurt Backus loves it too.
He's cool with everything. I off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but one thing that's always impressed me about him is just his dedication. Like he was there every day. Like I talked about those guys, like, yeah, I mean, it's his job, but if you think about how many hours he dedicates to that program, he dedicated, like almost 24 hours a day. You stop that guy in the street and you say, what are you thinking about? And he'll tell you, oh, I'm thinking about, Jordan Burroughs double leg and how to blah, blah, blah. Like he just is like 24 hours a day is focused on wrestling. And, he was there. He was always in the room, whatever you needed, anything. It was his life. And, that really comes through to, and it shows, the wrestlers he trained. Over the summer too, he's there every day. So yeah, just that level of dedication to anything is a really admirable quality.
All right, Rollie, now comes the fun part. As if this whole previous 2-part series that we're undergoing here wasn't fun enough. This is the part of the show where I'm going to blast 10 questions, maybe more at you, 90 seconds. I don't want you to think about them. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready for the challenge?
I'm ready.
Number 1, your favorite person to follow on Twitter.
My favorite person to follow on Twitter. I don't. Oh, you know who's fun? That who this Front Row Brian guy is.
Yeah,
really
he's
fun.
pretty amusing.
He's got some pretty good insights, MMA and all that stuff. He's a pretty funny guy.
And he works for Flow now too, so that's an interesting.
Yeah.
point.
Okay. Yeah. I thought so. I wasn't sure. I'm not on Twitter that much. I don't really do a ton on there.
Number 2, you win the Olympic gold medal. What are you having for dinner?
A burrito from Chipotle.
You and Dylan Ness would share the same menu there.
That's one thing I miss. There's no Chipotle over here abroad. It's like a big fault. They need to fix that.
Well, is there a Tim Hortons? Because that'd be like, we're talking Spain. What type of okay? I'm going to stop the clock. What type of food is there, man? I don't know much about Spanish culture or the Canary Islands. What are you eating every day?
So Spanish food, it's like the tortilla española is like eggs and potatoes kind of thing is typical thing. Obviously, the dish that everyone knows from Spain is paella, which comes from Valencia on the southern coast.
Reason I know that is because I watch a lot of Top Chef.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So paella, and people always think there's tons of seafood in it, but traditionally, the traditional Valencian paella has rabbit meat, actually. No seafood, but they always sell it with seafood too everywhere. But so there's that. Where I live in the Canary Islands, it's like a very distinct culture from Spain, and their food is maybe a little bit more spicy. They have like mojo sauce is the famous thing here. It's kind of like a spicy sauce, and they eat it with potatoes and some other things. But yeah, it's good. There's tons of different food.
All right, we're starting the clock again because the food thing got me. Now, question 3. Who's the best wrestler people don't talk about?
The best wrestler people don't talk about? Me, of course. No. People don't talk about. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know.
All right, question 4. Your all-time favorite flavor of Gatorade.
Oh, you know what? Here's something you'll appreciate. So I was on the Blair team with actually someone I haven't mentioned yet, Adam Frey, who really tragically passed away of cancer. How long ago was that?
Was he a riot or what, man? I mean,
he was a funny guy, man. He was always so welcoming to me. He was an oddball for sure. And
it was great. He was a great oddball.
And, he was one of the guys, like I was coming in late and everyone had already known each other, and he was super welcoming to me and really funny guy. But anyway, so he used to always joke that like we'd get when we traveled for tournaments in the vans, we would get these big like food packages that had like sandwiches and Gatorades and stuff like that. And they had these orange Gatorades in a can, and I've never seen them really anywhere else. But we get these big like 24 cases of orange Gatorade in a can. And he always used to joke about how orange Gatorade in a can is the best thing ever. It's so much better than orange Gatorade in a bottle. And you know what? It was so good. So if I see a case of that, I'm buying it. Orange Gatorade in a can. It's a secret. Maybe it's a secret to his success in wrestling.
Yeah, dude, talk about a guy. Again, not to interrupt the rapid fire questions, but that was a guy who was unlike anybody I had ever met in the sport of wrestling, and it was just. I mean, we all know it sucks. I mean, it was I remember talking to him right at the EIWAs that year at F&M, and it was it was weeks before he found out. He's on the trainer's table. He's like, JB, man, I just don't know what's wrong with me. And then here we go a month later, he gets in a car accident. All of a sudden, oh, that's what's wrong with. I mean, what was awesome about
they took about, didn't it take out like a 10 or 12 pound tumor from his like abdomen or something?
It was a weight class difference, man.
There he was cutting weight, and like, I mean, he always cut a lot of weight too. So like, I mean, that's awful. Everything. I mean, and then Jared Platt, two guys that were on my high school wrestling team have died of cancer. It's really terrible. They were both amazing people. And, it's so sad, that young and everything.
One thing I remember though about how, basically the awesome thing about Adam is he kind of finished things out on his own terms, really. I mean, he said, screw it, I've got a tournament. I'm going to wear a cowboy hat. I'm going to go out and have fun while I'm dealing with my treatment. I mean, I was hanging out with him at Nationals following. He's bald. He's splotchy from the chemo, but he's wearing his cowboy hat.
I remember that.
He went out like with the bang. And that's one thing that I always remember about that guy is, it wasn't the fact that he didn't just let himself, wilt away. He fought to the very end, and Jared the same way.
He wrote that blog too, and it was really a good blog and everything. I remember because at the time you were writing a blog, I was writing a blog, and then when this happened, he was writing a blog, and it was kind of like, I think we all had that little connection too through that world.
And he was on the Old Wrestling 411 a couple times talking about his treatment, and then Jamie Moffat put a book together, a collection of his blogs and stories, which is on my bookshelf right now, and. We tell these stories, and Jared Platt, I'm going to tell you my Jared Platt story. I mentioned this right after he passed away on the show, and him and Cody Gardner just passed away too. So I mean,
it's crazy. And they wrestled each other somewhere, right?
Everywhere.
Oh man, that's
Beast,
crazy.
Fargo, Iron Man. But when Jared Platt finally came off the mat in Fargo and won a junior national title, dropped off of the podium, and I'm sitting there on the press table, and I think it was probably 07, 08, that range, pops down and he just goes, effing finally. And I quoted him on saying, Brian, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say anything like that. I was like, no, it was like a relief that he had finally won one. And that's one thing I'll always tie Jared and Cody together with that story.
I have you just reminded me of an Adam Frey story, a funny one. So this is just so typical Adam. He and I were the two people that were like really cutting a lot of weight that one year. I was cutting down to 112 and he was cutting down to 130, I think. And he was a beast. He was cutting so much. So he and I spent a lot of time on treadmills next to each other, like, with sweats on the night before tournaments and in other places. And so we really had that bond all year. We were always cutting weight. We were the two miserable guys in the back of the bus spitting or whatever. And at the end of the year, like after national preps, like the final thing, he and I were just like sat down to dinner and we're like, we're going to see how much weight we can gain. We're going to have a contest to see who can gain more weight. And
please tell me this was Ricky Bobby night or something like it.
It was like, so Blair has these formal dinners where you're just like, it's all you can eat, big buffet thing. And actually, no, it wasn't formal dinner. It was just a regular dinner, but big buffet. And we were just loading our plates up, ice cream, this and that, big piles of everything. I mean, like, just until we like couldn't even walk. We were like so sick to our stomachs, and we're like forcing every last bite. And we go back and like we step on the scale, and we're both like the same amount over our weight classes. And I wish I could remember the exact number, but it was probably like 25 or 30 pounds over our weight classes or something like that. And the next morning, I go to bed, and the next morning I wake up and I say to Adam, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we tied last night. And he goes, actually, I went back to the cafeteria and had a few more slices of pie, so I won.
Anything to win that guy, man.
So it was just like a really funny thing. I was like, oh, yeah, we tied. Da, da, da. He's like, nope, I won.
I guess we should probably. I mean, that's a great story. This is why we got Rollie on the show, because he's got so many stories of life on the road and life in Blairstown, New Jersey. Okay, this is going to be the longest ever blast rapid fire segment ever on this show. Okay. So we're back to question 5 now. 20 minutes later, I think we're question 5. Your favorite video game of all time?
I didn't play a lot of video games. Video game. Let's see. I played Tony Hawk when I was younger. That was always fun.
Tony Hawk 2 or the first one? Because 2 was.
I think the first one, but it got so unrealistic after a while. Where it's
like you couldn't manual for
crazy flips and like on your hands and everything like that. When I was younger, I played the computer game Age of Empires. I like that. But yeah, otherwise I didn't play a ton of video games. I never liked that feeling of like sitting down and then like opening your eyes 6 hours later and being like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, my college roommate, George Sable, was known to do that with Final Fantasy. I think at 8 it was. But all right, favorite international wrestler outside of yourself?
Satayev, definitely. I remember studying his videos when I was in, and I don't know a ton about international wrestling. So like, I'm not like one of these guys that knows everything. But I remember just watching his videos when I was in college and just like trying to mimic his style. He was so relaxed and so calm out there, and just looked like he was just so poised but dangerous. Yeah, I really, really always liked his style.
What move would you rather have in your arsenal, the John Smith low single or the Jordan Burroughs reshot double?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think the low single was always maybe a little bit more my style. I mean, because the thing is, I think that's a move that a lot of people could learn and be good at, and it's flashy and everything like that. Jordan Burroughs, when I watch him do that, he's like defying physics every time he does it. You know, I just like look at it and I'm like, it's just like you're just showing me like 2 + 2 = 5. I'm like, what? How did that just happen? What is that? So yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm jealous of him for that too. So,
who's one guy from history you'd like to wrestle?
Hemingway.
Funniest teammate?
Probably Adam.
And number 10. Final question as we wrap up this blast segment that was definitely anything but a blast. It was a blast, but it wasn't a blast in time. Puns. What is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal is what is my spirit animal? Maybe like a bird of some sort that migrates because, kind of like a wanderer these days. And
canary, perhaps?
Oh, canary, yeah. There you go with your puns. Jason, you're on fire with these puns today.
Oh, that was bad. Well, you don't say birds of a feather. But yeah. I'm going to insert some boos and hisses here at the end. But all right, it's the time we get back. Again, the book, The Cage, Escaping the American Dream by Rollie Peterkin, available on Amazon and wherever fine online books are sold, but mainly just Amazon. And you can check it out and your website, RolliePeterkin.com. And Rollie, final thoughts. We've spent a lot of time here talking about your past, your present, and let's just see what's a little glimpse into your future and what can people expect to see from you in the near days and years.
Like I said before, I don't really have a lot of plans. I'm living over here. I might move to a different part of Spain next year and continue this and continue traveling this summer. I have some time free, and I'll be hopefully hitchhiking around Europe a little bit. And, I always love visitor. If anyone's in Spain and needs some recommendations or, coming to my area, please hit me up. And, even you were saying before you'd be around in Europe. I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll check out that schedule. Maybe I fly out for the tournament if I see a cheap flight or something. So yeah, you never know what to expect with me. I can be anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, that United World Wrestling calendar, it's out there. So if you go click on events, the European seniors are in Serbia, the European juniors in Germany, and then we got the Junior Worlds in Finland, Senior Worlds in Paris. And that'll be in August. Actually, it'll be like my 4th birthday in a row that I'm spending, either overseas. And then the Cadet Worlds are in Athens. So that's those are the 5 options that that's on UnitedWorldWrestling.com.org.
I'll check that out.
But anyway, Rollie, overdue, and now we've got this marathon of a 2-parter, because I didn't tell you it was going to be a 2-parter, but it's turned into that.
That's
appreciate
great.
the time and engaging, and I promise you I'm going to finish this damn book.
All right, well, let me know what you think when you finish it.
We'll have to bring you back on when you get more stories. Just let us know, because we can have a segment, Rollie Peterkin stories from the road.
I got so many more too. It's always fun to tell them, but we'll save those for next time.
Awesome. Freaking sweet. That's all I'm going to say there. That's all I'm going to say. And pretty stoked about that. So I am going to also give you guys a rundown of some things I'm working on as we get started here. This is going to be a busy month. This is I don't know, what are we at? We're sometime in February 9th, I think, as I record the outro here. I'm looking at my schedule. Like I said, I've talked about the 4 straight weeks. I actually had to turn down the national dual spot from NBC Universal. I couldn't do it. 5 weeks on the road with 2 young kids at home. That was just a little too much. And my wife looked at me like I was freaking crazy. But anyway, so on the road, I got so many ideas for shows. And, I got some stuff with I want to get to with Black History Month. I'm going to get Simon Roberts, the first African-American NCAA champion on the program, working on Bobby Douglas, still trying to get hold of Bruce Baumgartner for that first Legends series. Then we got NAIA stuff. We got Pac-12. I mean, just so much going on. Keep an eye out for Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. By the time you listen to this, I'll probably have been finished recording that one and released that one because it's National Duels time. And if you remember last year, Kevin Dresser had some sound bites worth listening to. But a lot of stuff coming on the network. We put up 40 shows last month. And that's not just me, folks, but that is Richard Immel at Bonus Points. Earl back on the grid with Sudden History. The boys at Black Shoe Diaries doing some good stuff with Penn State Wrestling. That's a fan show. That is not on the proper the network feed proper, but it is a network show. The difference is there that is more fan base than it is than what I've got here, which are more. I don't want to say professional because, I freaking love listening to Blood Round. That's as far as from professional as you get. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, Clunch. But anyway, Black Shoe Diaries on the network. Track Wrestling, David Mercatani, Andy Hamilton putting out a ton of content. I mean, there's 40 some shows coming out. Alex Williamson, you will have plenty to listen to during the month of March during championship season. So our friend out there, the Wartburg alum in Upper Iowa, a current Upper Iowa employee, you're going to have no shortage of content for podcasting. Neither are you sitting there listening in your car, you listening in your office while you should be working, and you with the incognito window with this playing in the background. So, yeah. We know what that window means at work. That means you're on the message boards. And like that guy that works with my wife, he's a huge wrestling fan here in Minnesota. My wife walks over to the desk the other day. It's like, oh, I had the Guillotine Forum up. Don't tell your boss that you're on the message boards. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, that's what I got. I just so much coming up, man. I'm just happy for this postseason. I'm getting excited. I had a conference call with the NCAA today about St. Louis with Brian Hazard and I on the microphone there again. Just it's going to be fun. Going to be fun. Can we say that one more time? It's fun. Woohoo. Wee-hee. Woohoo. And if you like this fun stuff that I'm doing here, and I can tell you about the guide. Like I've told you about the guide. I'm going to tell you about the guide till I'm blue in the face. So you buy a guide. I want to sell 500 of these things this year, folks. Yeah, that's the goal. So if you want one, buy one. If you think your friends want one, buy one. I've got a goal set in mind. So I'd like to put that many people into that realm of knowledge. You can do that. That's a great gift for the wrestling fan and your family. I should actually launch this around Christmas and done that as like my Black Friday deal. Anyway, I'm rambling here because your time is valuable. I don't want to waste any more of your time. But you've spent a lot of time with Rollie Peterkin the last 2 episodes. I am just happy with how that turned out. Great stories from Roger Omega Peterkin IV. Wow, that's imagine if I would have been Grover Clinton Bryant III. Just think about that, folks. Yeah, it doesn't quite. Yeah, Grover's a Muppet. Sorry, Dad. Enough wasting your time because you spend your quality time with me and all the shows here on the Mad Talk Podcast Network. I'd like to thank you for your patronage. For those of you on the team that are part of this effort with new, on-demand, engaging audio content exclusive to this network. Thank you. If you'd like to contribute, I would appreciate you doing so. MadTalkOnline.com/join the team. That's all I got now. Your time is valuable. I thank you for it. And I thank you for spending your time with me because you've always got time for short time. That was my sentimental close.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.